We had some interesting news break late last week regarding a new document drop from WikiLeaks related to the Vatican. This document drop sheds some light on the mess that is the Order of Malta, Cardinal Burke, and the side the Pope takes on the promotion of heterodoxy in the Church. But first, I wanted to thank my patrons for their support of this channel. If you want to join them in supporting my work, there are links in the description below. Also, I wanted to repeat my call for submissions for the blog returntotradition.org. There has been a few articles posted by viewers and supporters like you, so please feel free to submit an article for the blog if you want. An email address is in the description below. I can't pay for them at this stage of things, but I do want to help get more Catholic voices out there doing this work. In 2016, a story began to unfold in the hierarchy that illustrates the traditionalist-modernist divide as it unfolded in front of all of us in the form of a play. That play was the public disagreement of the, at the time, snubbing of Cardinal Raymond Burke by Pope Francis in the aftermath of the debacle of Amoris Laetitia and its implementation in various dioceses around the world. For most Catholics who were paying attention, this story unfolded in the form of a banishment from Rome, where Burke was sent to head a historically important religious order in the Church, which was followed by revelations of the condition of that order was in, to which the Vatican appeared to remain largely silent. What makes this story more interesting is that, on the one hand, it illustrates the situation in the Church perfectly, as a balance between modernists and those who want to uphold traditional Catholic morality, and on the other hand, what appears to be duplicity by those who hold the various highest offices in the Church today. We've seen this play out in other arenas as well, including in the attacks on traditionalist church groups and the weaponized ambiguity that has come to characterize the statements made by the leadership of the Church today, though the radicals never have a hard time understanding what is truly meant by ambiguous statements. The most recent development in this story is a release by WikiLeaks of a pair of letters between Cardinal Burke and Pope Francis in late 2016 that sheds new light on the crisis in the Order of Malta. Before diving fully into the story, let's have a look at the letters themselves. The first is a letter from Cardinal Raymond Burke addressed to an unnamed prince, followed by the letter to Burke from Pope Francis directing him to investigate the Order of Malta. Strictly confidential. Most Eminent Highness, with this letter I present to you an authentic copy of the letter dated December 1st, 2016, which I have received on December 5th, 2016, from His Holiness Pope Francis regarding his deep concern for the sovereign military order of Malta and its fidelity to its nature as a lay religious order and its close bond with the Holy See. He had presented in depth his concerns in the audience he granted to me on November 10th last. As you will note, he asks me to work with you to carry out the necessary vigilance over the life and works of the order, noting especially the purification of a mundane spirit and of the use of methods and means contrary to the moral law. It is my intention to work steadfastly with you in addressing the various concerns of the Holy Father. As the representative of the Roman Pontiff to the sovereign military order of Malta, I am deeply concerned that the great gift of the order to the Church be safeguarded and promoted in accord with its long and noble tradition, for the good of the individual members and of the universal Church. Given the seriousness of the matter, I ask your fullest cooperation, lest the Holy Father find it necessary to address directly his concerns through a visitation of the order. Invoking God's blessing upon you, your family, your religious consecration, and all your works on behalf of the order, and confiding your intentions to the intercession of Our Lady of Philerme, St. Michael the Archangel, St. Joseph, St. John the Baptist, St. Matthew Apostle and Evangelist, and Blessed Gerard, founder of our order, I remain, yours devoted in the most sacred heart of Jesus, Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke, Cardinal Patron of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. To the Venerable Brother Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke, Patron of the Sovereign Order of Malta. As I said to you during our audience of the 10th November, I hereby reiterate that I care very much that the historical and meritorious Sovereign Order of Malta remains ever more faithful to its nature as a lay religious order, dedicated to, quote, the promotion of the glory of God through the sanctification of its members, service to the faith and to the Holy Father, and assistance to one's neighbor, end quote. Constitution Charter, Article 2, Paragraph 1. For this reason, it is important that, from within the order, the authentic religious spirit and the close connection with the Roman Pontiff be reinforced, in accordance with the gift of the Holy Spirit, which was conceded at the moment of the order's foundation by my venerated predecessor, Pope Paschal II. I therefore ask your eminence, as Cardinal Patronus, collaborating with the Prince and Grand Master of the Order, to ensure that you carry out your duty of, quote, promoting the spiritual interests of the Order and its members and relations between the Holy See and the Order, end quote. Constitutional Charter, Article 4, Paragraph 4. In particular, members of the Order must avoid secular and frivolous behavior, such as membership to associations, movements, and organizations which are contrary to the Catholic faith or of a relativist nature. In such cases, knights who are members of these associations, movements, and organizations should be asked to remove themselves from the Order, because their behavior is incompatible with Catholic faith and membership of the Order of Malta. Furthermore, the Order must ensure that the methods and means it uses in its initiatives and healthcare works are not contrary to moral law. If in the past there has been a problem of this nature, I hope that it can be completely resolved. I would be very disappointed if, as you told me, some of the high offices were aware of practices such as the distribution of any type of contraceptives and have not yet intervened to end such things. I have no doubts that by following the principles of Paul and, quote, speaking the truth in love, end quote, Ephesians 4, verse 15, the latter matter can be discussed with these officers and the necessary rectification obtained. Your Eminence, together with the leaders of the Order, I will have to make ever more clear the close connection between which unites the sovereign military order of Malta to the Roman Pontiff, both from a structural and operational point of view. This will ensure that the Order continues to carry out its double purpose, defense of the faith and caring for the needy, especially the sick. I would appreciate it if you could keep me informed on these matters, and in the meantime I am pleased to assure you of my prayers and give you the apostolic blessing, which I also extend to the Prince and Grand Master and to all members of the Order. From the Vatican, 1st of December, 2016. The leaking of these letters helps shed some light on the situation. Let's do an overview now of the situation with Cardinal Burke and the Order of Malta. Again, this is a top-down view of this situation. Links can be found on the Return to Tradition blog that can let you go deeper into this if you so choose. Burke's first degradation. Cardinal Raymond Burke was an outspoken opponent of Pope Francis's changes regarding reception of Holy Communion by those living in an objective state of mortal sin, as seemed to be advocated in Amoris Laetitia. He made his objections known in the First Synod of Bishops on the Undermining of the Family in October 2014. Burke denounced actions to manipulate the Synod and criticized a break with church doctrine and practice. After the conclusion of the Synod, Pope Francis suspended him from his position as then Prefect of the Supreme Court of the Apostolic Signatoria and removed him from the Vatican. Burke was sent by the Pope to be the Cardinal Patron of the Sovereign Order of Malta. That is certainly a prestigious office, but it lacks any influence in the leadership of the Church in a formal institutional sense. In late 2016, a conflict was brewing between the Order of Malta's then Grand Master Matthew Festing and his Grand Chancellor Albrecht Freiherr von Boeselager. Von Boeselager appealed to the Holy See for help. In the internal argument, the Holy See sided with von Boeselager, going so far as to demote the Grand Master, and then within a few weeks, he was forced by Pope Francis to resign at the end of January. Boeselager was again appointed by Francis to run the order. This period is critical because this is when the letters I just read to you were penned by both Burke and Francis. At the point that these actions were taken, Burke had already received support by the Pope for combating the heterodoxy being promoted by the order, or so it would appear. In March 2017, Burke had this to say in regards of a communication he received from a concerned Knight of Malta. I find it profoundly saddening that the grave scandal of the distribution of contraceptives and the advancing secularization of the order, which this immoral action represents, are now minimized and effectively forgotten. All the many press conferences, interviews, and other interventions through the media on the part of the order in the time since the reinstatement of the Grand Chancellor make no reference to the grave scandal and acknowledge no responsibility on the part of the Grand Chancellor for such scandal. From my view, I fear that the obscuring of this scandalous situation at the root of the recent difficulties in the order is not a good augury for the renewal of the order, according to its long, noble, and thoroughly Catholic tradition. This is bolstered by an earlier attempt by Cardinal Muller that pinned these practices on von Boeselager himself, describing the violation of Catholic morality by the order as reprehensible. Yet von Bosselager was promoted. Very curious. Burke's second degradation. While Burke was the cardinal head of the order, he received a de jure demotion. While he remained cardinal patron and the official representation of the Pope in the Knights and Hospital Order, the Pope appointed Curial Archbishop Angelo Beccio as a special personal representative with the responsibilities of a papal commissioner. Interesting, isn't this? This is in response to attempting to suppress the promotion of sin by the Knights of Malta. So not only was von Bosselager promoted, Burke was left as a figurehead, far from the Vatican where he can do no harm. Also remember that in recent months it was revealed that the USCCB had told bishops in the US to think carefully before welcoming Burke into their dioceses. Cardinal Burke was accused of having helped Grand Master Festing take the moral teachings of the Catholic Church a tad too seriously. In April 2018, Cardinal Burke participated in the conference Catholic Church Quo Vadis in Rome. Burke spoke on the topic of not only the possibility, but the duty to criticize the Pope if he should deviate from Catholic doctrine and practice. This is an escalation of the quiet conflict brewing between the two and gives ecclesial support for, frankly, that the work of many of us, myself included, are doing here. Since this fiasco erupted, he has been treated as persona non grata by the order. After his appointment as cardinal patron in 2015 and 2016, Burke had led the annual pilgrimage and celebrated Holy Mass and Lourdes for pilgrims. Statements made by Burke in 2018 reveal his suspicion that he is not welcome to attend the International Lourdes pilgrimage. This despite the fact that it is the 160th anniversary of the Marian apparitions, a landmark anniversary of the Church, and his personal history of having celebrated the Mass there for several years, all of that being now irrelevant in the world of church politics. Those who dare to contradict Francis have a difficult time. Also remember that lay figures who speak out get expelled from the order, as happened to Henry Sire, the author of The Dictator Pope. Sire had been a long-time lay knight of Malta, but was expelled for his controversial book. So what do you think of this? Does this letter shed light in a meaningful way on the mess that is the Order of Malta? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thank you for listening and for your support. Pray and do acts of penance for the liberation and exaltation of the Church. I'm Anthony Stein. Viva Cristo Rey.